Okay, welcome everyone. We will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have just one recognition, so we'll begin by welcoming Eddie Madison, our Coordinator of Health and PE, for the recognition of the American Heart Association. Hi, Eddie.
Good evening. Oh, that's really close. Good evening. Eddie Madison, Health and PE Coordinator, also oversee Parkway Path and Outdoor School. And tonight I have the pleasure of introducing Jen Rogers from the American Heart Association. Jen has been a staple in not only our Parkway footprint, but in St. Louis County with the work that she does inside of the schools to prepare the teachers to run programs within the buildings to raise money for the American Heart Association. And Jen's going to talk a little bit about how far that money goes and the impact that has on not only the students feeling the money raised goes places, but also the impact it has on what every dollar counts for. And without further ado, Jen Rogers.
Thank you. All right, good evening. As you just heard, my name is Jen Rogers, and I'm with the American Heart Association. I'm the Senior Youth Market Director, so I work in the St. Louis area, but like today, I was just in Springfield, Missouri, so I expand out into St. Francis County and down in the Springfield area. So I've been here for 8 years, and I've been partnering, I think, this is my third year since I've been working with Parkway. So it's definitely an honor. And you guys, Parkway and the American Heart Association has had a wonderful tradition of a partnership. And Dr. Marty and Eddie I'm so thankful that they are a part of this and that they support us and support it being in your schools so we can bring that heart healthy education to your students and to their families. So I'm gonna click down. I did it right. All right, so I'm gonna start with giving you just a little bit of background about what the American Heart Association does in your schools and what our mission is. And as you can see on the board, our goal is by 2024 is to be champions for health equity. We believe that every person, no matter of their social position, they deserve the opportunity for a heart-healthy lifestyle. That's mind health, heart health, body health, that whole child, that whole person, and that is what our goal is. We want to advance cardiovascular health for all and identify and remove those barriers so everybody has that opportunity. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do or where you work. We want everyone to have that opportunity. So if you look at this on the board here, these are our core impact areas. In the colored part in the center, these are our 5 impact areas as a national organization. And then the outer circle is how we are bringing that into your community. And with the Heart Association, I'm sure you heard of the Heart Walk and the Heart Ball, the Gala, and Go Red for Women, but I work in youth markets, so I work with your children, and we have 3 areas where we can truly take these core impact areas and bring it into your schools. And one is through women. Majority of the people in education are women, and so we want to make sure that they have that education, because a lot of times, I'm a mom of 3, I forget about myself, right? And or we get too busy. And what are the signs of a heart attack in a woman? You know, making sure they know that, because they're different than what you might see the normal, I have some chest pain. And so we want to make sure we do that through Go Red for Women, but we also offer staff resources about health and wellness for all staff. Another part is over on the right side, we're healthy living, and that we do through bringing our Kids Heart and our American Heart Challenge programs to your school and giving them the how to eat right and how to be active, and kind of complementing the curriculum that you already have in your schools, and your PE teachers do an amazing job. And then this is just a supplement. This is something that's just going to add some new fun resources so it's not so boring to be healthy, right? And make that a habit. And also building that mental well-being. We know over the past few years it's taken a toll on everyone. So how can we help your students cope with our social and emotional learning and bring those resources into your school? And when they have to come up, when they have some social or mental well-being issues, they cope, right? And your older kids, hopefully older, it's getting younger unfortunately, might cope through vaping and tobacco. So that is an enormous initiative that we have in educating your school, your teacher, or your students, your parents. I didn't know that a vape pen could be in a hoodie jacket or in a backpack. I didn't know all that until all of this information started coming out. And we're just letting them know that vaping is a dangerous thing to become a part of. It's easily addictive. And so we're getting that information out and giving that to your schools through the resources there. So we have collaborated with you all for many, many, many years. I know that way before my time, and also in communities and surrounding areas. And this is what we've done. This is what we've done together. You all are the base of this. You're the support. You're the impact that has created the reduction in cardiovascular disease, heart disease death, coronary heart disease, and stroke. We've made huge strides over the last several years. And you guys are at the beginning of all of that, so we thank you so much. And we had a call a couple weeks ago with a former American Heart Association National Board president, and we asked him, you've been a part of this association for so many years. What are some highlights? What are things that you think are important as far as what we have contributed? What have we funded? And the one that he talked about was statins for cholesterol. So it used to be giving a shot every day. Now we've helped by funding the research to make it a shot for every 6 months and giving people different options to reduce their cholesterol, as well as the pacemaker. It used to have all those wires. Now it just goes right into the heart. So these are just some things that he is super proud of, along with our advocacy for vaping that I just talked about. Also, let me ask you this, and I might be aging myself. When's the last time you've heard, do you want smoking or non-smoking in the restaurant? It's been a long time. Please tell me I'm not the only one that remembers that. So that was the American Heart Association. That's part of how it's getting into the community. Providing, advocating for more nutritious school lunches. That impacts all of your students right here. CPR education and awareness. We need to educate people on the importance of CPR. I'm hearing it all over the news lately, and I don't know if I'm just a little bit more keen to it because I talk about it every day, but that is very important. We all know someone that's been affected by heart disease. If it's not ourselves, it's a family, a loved one, a friend. And so the American Heart Association is there in those surgeries and in those procedures to save lives. So let's brag a little bit about your amazing community. This is the impact for the 2022 school year. So this ended in June, but you all had over 1,000 students participate at your different schools in our Kids Heart Challenge. That was up over 200 students from last year. You raised over $85,000, so give yourself a pat on the back, round of applause, because that was awesome, and that was a $20,000 increase over last year as well. But that also brought you to be the number 3 school district in the state of Missouri. So that's something to be super, super proud of. And it upped your contribution, your lifetime contribution to $1.26 million. So thank you so much for that impact that your community makes every day. A big initiative that we have is teaching your students hands-only CPR. And we know that your little ones can't do the compressions, but we're starting to build that foundation on, what do we do if we see someone collapse? I know I need to call 911. So every day we are trying to get that message. And through our 2 programs, American and Kids Heart Challenge, they're learning through a video about how to do hands-only CPR. And so our goal is to reach 1.8 million families and educate them. And that could be over 45,000 lifesavers just in Parkway alone by watching our videos. And they're also gonna learn the signs of a stroke, so they learn fast. And it's a rap song that sticks in your head forever, trust me. But the kids love it, and they're gonna know that if the face is drooping or the speech is slurred, they're gonna be like, hey, wait a minute. So they're, over the years of continuing to learn that, they're going to remember those things. So this is an honor roll. It's a little small, and if you want a copy, we have copies. It's up to you all if you want them. But this is your honor roll. These are the schools that participated last year. They did an amazing job. I'm so super proud of all of them. We had a lot of growth at each of the schools. And something new this year is we did a red out game, and Dr. Marty was there at Parkway West High School. And I think it got delayed because of snow, if I remember correctly.
It was on President's Day, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, right. And so it got a little delayed, but they still did it. The students really embraced it. I got some great pictures. I think the principals even had to wear the hat or the T-shirt of the opposing school until they raised like $100 or
Dr.
something.
Mitchell and Dr. McCarthy. Yeah.
Yes, they did an amazing job there. So this is your the schools that have participated. And just to wrap it up, we'd love to give some shout outs. I already said you guys were the #3 school district in the state of Missouri. The top school in the Parkway district was Shenandoah Valley with Mandy Ratchard and Josh Gannon. They did an amazing job this year, raising over $15,000, which also gave them the number 18th spot as the Kids Heart Challenge school in Missouri. Belle Reve did an amazing job. They also had an increase. They were number 31 in the state of Missouri, and that was John Fink and Jesse Taylor. And then Barrett's, we have Barb Russell. She was number 34. So those communities have a long time tradition of Kids Heart Challenge in their schools, and they all did an amazing job. We do Missouri Hearties every year. So Clayton Davis, he retired. So he received the Lifetime of Heart, just thanking him and recognizing him for all of his contributions and support over the years. And then School of the Year was given to John and Jesse at Belle Reve. They did an amazing job, and so easy to work with. They're all professionals. They really don't even need me. And then Jenny Cooley over at Oak Brook, she was nominated for Rookie of the Year because this was her first year. Oak Brook has an amazing tradition for Kids Heart Challenge. They've raised, I think, over $275,000 in their lifetime all by themselves. So she jumped right in along with Phil and continued that tradition there. So we were really excited to be able to nominate her for that as well. So on behalf of the American Heart Association, I just want to thank you all again for your partnership. Dr. Marty, Eddie, your principals, your PE teachers, your communities are amazing. And thank you for letting me be a part of building healthy hearts, minds, and creating leaders and building brighter futures for your students. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We really do appreciate all that you do to engage our schools and our students, and we're proud of the achievements that each of our schools have made, and we just hope that the program continues to build throughout the Parkway District. So thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and you all are amazing to work with and very supportive, and I'm proud to be a part of the partnership. Julie was before me. Dr. Marty worked closely with her, so I just really followed in her footsteps, but you guys are so awesome to work with. And yeah, we are definitely continuing it with your schools this year, so.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Todd, if I could just say, one of the things that just amazes me about Jen is, Sandy said she works with a lot of school districts and works around the region. But look how she's best friends with some of our people.
Yeah.
Here in Park. She knows their names, and you have to look at her notes.
No, I didn't have to. No, I know him now. It was the
she's
first year I was a little like,
right,
okay,
but
hold
you
on.
develop such great relationships. Your
Yeah.
enthusiasm is contagious, and I always enjoy just meeting with you, and really appreciate the partnership. Really do, Jen. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have several additions, corrections, and/or modifications to tonight's agenda. Those include 7.01, addendum to agenda item 11.03, approval of personnel items, and 7.02, consent agenda item 11.13, approval of corporate partnership Bell American, pulled from the consent agenda. Next up is public comments. We only have one tonight, and it is a person who has spoken before. So, Mr. Hartman, you know our expectations. So, welcome. You will have 3 minutes to share with us whatever you'd like to tonight.
Well, before I start, this may take a bit longer than 3 minutes, but it needs to be said. Being as I'm the only one, hopefully you'll be able to accommodate that. Back in 1974, an elderly person said to me, he said, "Wayne, you're going to meet a lot of smart people in your life, but all you need to make it in this world is common sense." And I heard a news report on Parkway School District and other school districts that said that they were going to remove certain graphic books from their libraries. And I thought, you don't remove certain graphic books, you remove all graphic books. That's just common sense. Now, back in the 60s, when I was taking basic science, the XX chromosomes are female and the XYs are male. It's been like that since before we were born, and it's going to be like that after we're long gone. Nothing is going to change that no matter what. Now, in girls' restrooms, girls have been assaulted, raped, and murdered in girls' restrooms. Now, last year in the restroom, they had some racist graffiti written, and the school unloaded like it was on fire. So in your little magazine that you have out there, it's got here one sentence that says, "We know our main job each day is to keep our students safe." Now, I know all of you have my email address and my information, so I'd like Ms. Hopper to send to me what steps Parkway School District has put in place so that what happened last year and any other time that something hasn't been reported to the public, what steps have they put in place to keep students safe going in and out of those restrooms? I'd appreciate that. Thank you in advance. Next, talking about the American Heart lady that was just here. She says she didn't know that vapors could be put in a backpack. I heard a news report where a 13-year-old student brought pills to school in their backpack and must have showed it to other students who went to a guidance counselor of the school, and the guidance counselor went and took the backpack and investigated. Found pills in the bottom of the bag, collected them. 5 minutes later, he was dead. Fentanyl will kill you just touching that pill, and it will absorb through your skin, and it will kill you. And so for the rest of that family's life of that counselor, they will have a hole where their hearts were. So what I want to get out is that teachers, assistant teachers, cafeteria workers, janitors, SROs, security, electricians, anybody working in schools, if you see anything that looks like a pill, don't touch it with your bare hands. Put gloves on. And when you've got it collected and you want to take your gloves off, rinse the gloves off to get any residue off the glove before you take the gloves off to keep yourself safe. I want to get that out there.
If you could wrap
You
it up.
asked, I said to myself, how does this little kid bring these to school and not get hurt himself? Somebody put him in there, and he allowed other students to see him. That sends a message that I think it says, I can get to you wherever you are, no matter who you are, and anytime I want. That's the message, no matter if it's a school, a hospital, doesn't matter. That's the message I think they're sending.
Okay.
So
Thank
lastly,
you, Mr. Hartman.
that if that elderly man were alive today, I'd have to tell him that common sense isn't so common anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, the next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, beginning at 7 p.m. right here at the Parkway Welcome Center. Next, we have board superintendent reports. We'll start down there with Matt.
Honestly, this is the last board meeting. I just attended Parkway Cross Country meets, so I have nothing else to share. I'm good.
It's only been a couple of weeks, but have done a few things. Went to Parkway Central's homecoming football game. The Colts, and it was 49-0 at half, so it was a very good game. So congrats to the Colts. Last week, I had the opportunity to volunteer at the Parkway Food Pantry, distributed food to families in need. I just have to say the graciousness shown by the families and all that the volunteers do there was just amazing. Very inspiring and something I'll definitely be doing in the future. As a parent, I attended Green Trails Carnival over the weekend. Always a good time, good to be back at it. It's been a couple years since we've had it, as well as their open house. So got to see a lot of the teachers and really get more into the classroom, which was great. So.
Earlier this month, because I am a first-year board member, I have mandatory training from the Missouri School Board Association. And I elected to go in the town of my alma mater, Columbia, Missouri, for a full day of training. Enjoyed being there, enjoyed being back in Columbia, and was just really impressed, and it enthused me and invigorated me to be around many other first-year board members, all excited to talk about their schools and sort of the trials and tribulations that they've gone through. And of course, I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed making new friends and new contacts, but it just, and I've said this before in board member reports, it was just affirmational that we have such a wonderful school district here in Parkway. We have wonderful systems, we have wonderful support and staff, and I was very excited to be able to present that to these new friends and talk about the things that we're doing in Parkway, and I left feeling very good about the direction we're headed. And then just a week ago or so, as a parent, I participated. My neighborhood is very close to Parkway West High School, and every year at homecoming, they have a parade that goes through the neighborhood. It's a fantastic community outreach where they drive floats and they throw candy, and little kids love it. My kids loved it, and Debbie Hopper participated. She drove one of the floats, which was exciting for me to see on a personal and professional level.
Well, I actually drove Mr. McCabe.
That wasn't a float?
It was not a float.
Okay.
It felt like we were floating, but.
At any rate, it was a lot of fun, and I know everybody who participated and enjoyed themselves, and the neighborhood enjoyed
We
it
did
very
have
much.
balloons. We did have balloons, so maybe that's what you're
Balloons
thinking.
and
We were
candy.
floating, yeah.
So in the last couple of weeks, I was able to attend one of our district meetings called PAMI. So I've been a PAMI member for, well, since I started in the district several years back. And for the first meeting of the year, we had a great turnout. And the topic that we had was about college readiness for K through 12, so it was allowed all of our parents from our elementary to our high school to really start thinking about college, especially for those that might not have thought about college as a career or a pathway to a career. So it was a great turnout, like I said before. Really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the speaker, and I'm looking forward to the next meeting.
Like my colleagues here, I also attended some football games. I took my nephew Everett, who's a first grader at Ross, to his first Parkway North football game. He thought the hot dogs were excellent and enjoyed himself. But what I really want to talk about, though, was so my son's now in 5th grade, and as they obviously every year the curriculum gets more and more involved, and so now they've got more and more homework. And then I'm sure, like a lot of the other parents that are here watching, your kids, in addition to school and homework responsibilities, my son plays sports. There's also other activities. And I've got, neighbors that are in high school, they're in band, I see them at the bus stop at 6 a.m. They have the same kid, she has volleyball practice after school, and then homework. And it just blows me away the amount of time and the commitment it takes for parents, students, all of us to accomplish all the things that we do as a district. And I think it's important to sometimes take a step back and just kind of think about how remarkable just the day-to-day of the kids, and obviously the teachers and everyone else in the district, but this is just focusing on our students. And we ask a lot of them, and they have a lot of responsibilities and a lot to do, and when they succeed, it really is remarkable and impressive, and it makes you kind of proud of what we're doing here, and these kids are able to take it all on and accomplish the things they accomplish.
On September 19th, I attended the Special School District Governing Council meeting. The major things that came out of that meeting was the Public Review Committee report. This is a report that is mandatory to be completed every 3 years. It is served by a committee of 3 members from the Governing Council, 3 members from DESE, which is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and then 3 community members and some representatives of the special school district as well. There's a few edits that are being made to that public review committee report, so it will be routed onto its website, onto the special school district website, and then that will be something that our school district should be looking at and board members should be taking a look at to see what the recommendations are from that, and then the status from the previous report that was conducted. It's a very intensive exercise that has gone through with meetings. They probably meet about 25 times in a very short period of time to learn the operations and the structure and the financial status of the special school district, and then make recommendations on their findings. So that's a very important report that we take a look at. And then the other thing that was discussed was the partnership agreements. All 22 partner districts need to approve their partnership agreement by September 30th. So we'll hear a report tonight on the Parkway Partnership Agreement and discuss updates that we're done with that. And then as previously, so that's mainly what I've been doing as a board member. And then participating in homecoming events, of course, with Parkway West. And to what Kevin just said, I too agree with him that it's just amazing what opportunities we have here throughout Parkway for our students to be involved in and families to be involved in, and just take very great pride in our school district.
Since last board meeting, I too have attended several football games at West, and then homecoming at Central, homecoming at North. And at each school, although there's different demographics, there's different students acting in different ways. It really was just wonderful to see student interaction on a Friday night, just enjoying each other, enjoying their school grounds. They obviously have so much pride in their schools, especially the homecoming games. Those are always exciting. And then I also attended the Special School District's Parent Advisory Council, had a kickoff meeting welcoming families back to the school year, and during that they handed out some awards to recognize some of their outstanding folks in different districts, not just in Parkway, but certainly some were recognized in Parkway, and just an amazing group of people that take care of so many kids here in our district and beyond. So that's about it.
Just a couple additions. I just want to say this. I started this morning, couldn't sleep, so I got up early and I went to the bus barn about 6 o'clock and had a great chance to talk to even beat Will Rosa there. That was but our drivers are really doing a great job. As you know, we were worried about the supply, and not that we can't use more bus drivers, but good spirit with the drivers. They're happy. I'm going to actually, and some of you may want to join me, I'm going to start riding buses again. I haven't done that during COVID, but I'm going to start riding buses. In fact, there's a couple of drivers this morning that wanted to take me today. I just didn't have time today. From there, I actually went over to Spark and set the stage a little bit, and Paul was there today too. So we have a special visitor tomorrow, actually 2 special visitors. The governor is coming to visit Spark. We're going to have all the 7 strands represented of Spark, and also Commissioner Van Even is coming tomorrow as well. So the 2 of them will be at Spark. It's going to be a quick in and out. They're going to be there from about 10:30 to 11:30. Have a chance to talk to students and staff, and then we'll certainly give some time to the governor and the commissioner to address students and staff. And I don't know if there'll be time for any report, but as you know, the governor, one of his big initiatives is workforce development, and so he's heard about Spark and feels that this is something he wants to take a look at. Margie Van Even has been here before a couple times, I think, to see Spark programs, so I'm glad that she is coming back to witness that. So that'll be a neat opportunity for Parkway tomorrow. I also agree it's been wonderful to be at homecoming events and other events around the district, well attended. Our homecomings are over. All 4 of our high schools have concluded, our traditional high schools have concluded with homecoming. But we do have on October 14th, the Mayor's Cup game at West High School between Central and West, and that's always they take that game very, very seriously, and there's a trophy involved, so they will be doing that October 14th. We do have spring break, or not, excuse me, no, we don't have spring break yet. Fall break, October 7th and the 10th for our schools, our school district. And I think, it's a long stretch between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, so it's a nice opportunity to give us a little bit of a break. And I will just say that we're very, very thrilled. We just got notice that 28 of our students are National Merit semifinalists. I think that's a wonderful number, a great, there's a very small percentage of students in the country that get that recognition. So again, we're very, very excited about having our students achieve at a high level. Other than that, I just want to thank my colleagues and all their hard work. It's been a busy start, and of course, we're doing our best to get information out on the bond campaign, and we have a wonderful citizens group, which you heard from last month. And so we continue that work into October. But it's been I would say again, I think we're feeling good about the start of our school year and the work of our staff and our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for September 28th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have a relatively brief consent agenda, which we've all had an opportunity to review. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the September 28th, 2022 board materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have a board resolution. And so I'd like to welcome Dr. Kevin Beckner, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability, to discuss that with us.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much. President Todd, Vice President Hopper, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover, members of the board. Tonight we're presenting an action item for your authorization for Parkway to join what's called the System Design Zone, which is part of a larger initiative called the Success Ready Students Network that's run by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. This group is actually a follow-up to a group that we participated in last year where DESE ran a Success Ready Students task force of sorts from school districts all across the state of Missouri, where we got together multiple times. I was part of that. Dr. Jennifer Stanfill was part of that. Many of our neighboring districts were part of that. Wonderful work, and that is now has led to some recommendations presented to the State Board of Education, one of which is that they create a network of schools to work together, and within that there are two what they're calling innovation zones. One is about designing learner experiences, but the other is called the System Design Zone. So we'll share just a little bit about it as we ask for your approval to partner in this work. So here's what DESE says about the System Design Zone. I'm not going to read that whole thing to you, but you notice that it starts out that the System Design Zone is for leading CBL districts. Well, this is not a term we're probably super familiar with, but that stands for competency-based learning. And while we haven't, I'm highlighting just that part. Well, we haven't used that term a lot. When we start to look at the work they're actually talking about, you'll see that it's very well connected to work that we've already been doing for years and things that we've already been doing through Project Parkway, through our efforts to personalize learning, just through our mission and vision and great work that we're doing. And we'll go through what they say competency-based learning is, and we'll see just how it quickly connects to our work. So we see on the left here Missouri's competency-based model and what we're doing here in Parkway. There are actually 8 pieces. I'm only going to highlight a couple of them for time's sake. But in Missouri's model, they're saying that students are empowered daily to make decisions about their learning, which sounds a heck of a lot like our vision statement that we want our students to be more self-directed, that our students can take ownership over their own learning. In Missouri's model, they say they want assessment to be meaning, positive, and empowering. These are not words typically used with assessment. That's meaningful and powerful and positive for kids. If you remember being in high school, is test day. We don't necessarily look forward to that. But we really want that assessment to be meaningful and valuable for kids. And we've said we want to provide students multiple authentic ways to demonstrate that they understand. In Missouri's model, they say that students should progress based on mastery, not through seat time. that every student has to sit through the same number of days and the same amount of time to get the credit. And in Parkway, we said, no, we agree. We want to arrange learning around mastery of competencies. Again, terms that we haven't highlighted a lot, but terms that are really important to sort of understand some of this work. Last one I'll highlight is they say we need to have rigorous common expectations that are explicit and transparent and measurable. And we actually have 2 learning principles that say almost exactly the same thing, that students understand what they're learning and why they're learning it, and they can transfer learning to new situations. These are things we've had in our mission, vision, learning principles since 2011. So these things have been around a while in Parkway, and so while we might not be using the same terminology, a lot of the work that DESE is doing here is really well aligned to what we already are striving for all of our students. Some examples of work already happening in Parkway around this type of effort is we actually spent a ton of time in my department before the pandemic to find like what's a competency, because that's not a term we've used a lot. You might have heard like the state has standards, and they're like, some courses might have 86 standards in them. It defines very discreetly what kids need to know. Competencies are trying to chunk that into more manageable things that are not just really discrete, like know where the 50 states are, or understand that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Those are great things. But what's the big picture? What is it that we're trying to learn through those things? So we've actually created some definitions around that. In kindergarten through 8th grade, we have what we call learning progressions, which is really just trying to define, okay, so what's the sequence in which kids would learn things and how do we make that explicit? Last year, we approved the use of quarter credits, which doesn't sound that wild, but in Parkway, we've always only given students credit for like a semester of work in high school. We're saying, well, what if we can get more discrete than that? What if a student didn't pass the class, but really actually knows almost half the material from that semester? Can we give them credit for that? Trying to get more discreet about what kids know and are able to do. At Fern Ridge, our alternative school, we are implementing a full-blown competency-based model, which we'll talk more about some other time. That's not for tonight, but it's really exciting work that's helping our students who might be credit deficient catch up more quickly and identify what they need to know. We have done some development by introducing the competency-based approach to all our secondary principals and assistant principals. This is really cool. Summer school, our high school summer school program. Right now, if you get a 58% in a class, you might have to sit through the entire class. But you might not need everything in that class because you might have already mastered quite a bit of the learning in that class. So we want to make it more flexible so you can get what you need and not have to just sit through seat time, but demonstrate that you know it, which is cool. And then we have Spark, which has real-world industry-based competencies where our kids are learning things that are valuable, that are skill-based, that are, here's how we use this in the real world. So point of all this is we're already doing a lot of this work. And though we might not say, oh yeah, we're a leading CBL district, when we actually break down what that means, Parkway is very far along in this process and really has a lot of the pieces already in place. A couple other things just to highlight from what DESE is saying about this. It's a collaboration to help improve practice, so we get to work with other districts and hear about the great things they're doing, the great things we're doing, and hopefully learn from each other in that. And then there are 2 statewide pieces that we would get to be a part of. One, the MAP test is not great in the sense that it's not actually designed to help kids get better. It's not giving us actionable information. We all know in this room, because we've gone through it, sometimes we get the results in September, October, November. The kids' learning is done. It's moved on. That's not helpful. So the state is actually looking at how could we redesign that system, and by being part of this, we get to be part of that work. Following that, with potentially some work around an accreditation system, which is right now our Missouri School Improvement Program. So I give all that to you as background to ask for your support in Parkway joining the system design zone. We actually had to apply, and we applied and were accepted. But this is the step to say we'd like to formally ask you to give us authorization to engage in that work. And if so, Dr. Holman Best, along with Carter Snow and I, will actually be going on Monday to Jeff City to participate in the kickoff of this work. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Well, first off, thank you very much. We've been hearing a little bit about this, and we appreciate the presentation, and it sounds like this is an interesting and exciting opportunity for Parkway to be a leader in this type of work. So we appreciate all you're doing
Thank you.
to to make that happen. Anyone have any questions?
I'll just ask, so we see a lot of what Parkway's already doing, but what do you see as the ultimate outcome to participating in this?
Yeah, so I think there's probably three things. One is that we can more quickly and more confidently adjust our system to better meet all students' needs and better meet our mission and vision. So from an internal perspective, that's what I mean is like, okay, so it's gonna help us actually get to a more fully defined and implemented competency-based system. And by that, what we really mean is you're not bound by, I can only take these classes and have to sit through it this time, but we can make the learning more meaningful, relevant for kids while still identifying that you have in fact mastered these skills. That will help us get there more quickly. Secondly, are those two participation pieces in state work that were stated at the end, that we get to have voice potentially into a new assessment system, something that would be helpful for all of the students in the state of Missouri, but particularly helpful for our kids. And then we do have some fairly notable concerns about the current state accreditation system and the way that it's being rolled out in the next version. And this is already looking beyond that to say, hey, what would be a better way that we could actually do this work? So participating will give Parkway a voice into that process and allow us insight into what that could potentially look like.
And truthfully, we gotta be careful probably saying this, but there potentially could be some waiver opportunities, right?
For sure.
I mean,
Yep.
and to be honest with you, Kevin answered that very well, but talking to Mike Fulton, who's one of the leaders with this, he would say that we don't know what's gonna come out of this group once we get these districts together. But one of the things could be that we could apply for some waivers, meaning we could apply some of this competency-based rather than the old map tester, or we could really try piloting some things. We're kind of hopeful that that's a direction to start moving the system away from what, like Kevin says, map results that come 6 months after students take them, which isn't very helpful. So we're really trying to get into to really make this a student-centered approach.
Yeah. I mean, potential opportunities including even a state assessment system that allowed us to assess students multiple times throughout the year, not just like this one big, oh my gosh, this is like the end of the world test where we have to, create whole new schedules for our students and this is map week and have assemblies and candy and like all this stuff that we do to try to make sure people the kids stay engaged and motivated. If you can just make that part of the learning process, that we take these assessments, we use the results immediately, we actually talk about what we did well on, what we didn't do well on, we actually use the information in a way immediately that's helpful for kids. A system like that would be leaps and bounds better than the sort of autopsy system we have now, where it's you took this and 6 months later you'll figure out how you did and then you can't use it. So I mean, those are the kinds of very practical things that we're talking about, is having a system that actually was for kids, not just measuring kids and moving on, but actually could be useful and helpful to them knowing what they need to do to get better.
We don't see this as impacting any part of MSIP 6. This is more of a, where could we go with 7?
Immediately, it will not impact MSIP 6. Our hope actually would be that if we engage in some of this work well in the next couple of years, as Dr. Marty mentioned, that we could potentially apply for some waivers to say we'd rather do this than what we're currently doing. Do I see that happening next year? No, because we need time to do this work, but is that a possibility in the future? It actually is, yeah.
How many districts are currently in this zone,
Yeah.
and what are they anticipating in addition?
Excellent question. I wish I had looked it up, but they did send an email with everybody's addresses on there, so you can see. I'm going to ballpark it. It's a few dozen school districts. I can look up the exact number and get it to you. Like I said, you have to apply, so this isn't just sort of anybody sign up. You have to show you're doing the work, you're committed to the work, you care about this work, to be part of that. They did try to do it so it represents all areas of the state. So I know that there's some Kansas City districts on there. There's, I think, 3 or 4 of us in the St. Louis area who are on there. And then, of course, all the other regions of the state, they made sure that there was representation.
And Kevin, do you see any changes that will actually be taking place in the classrooms while we're doing this at
I
all?
think so, not as a result of this work, but more that this work is in support of the changes we're already trying to make. So I would say our work is driven by Project Parkway. Our work is driven by our mission and vision. Our work, we're gonna, as we all know, we're gonna engage in Project Parkway 3.0, starting after the bond issue vote. That's the work that will drive us. But the great thing about this is it's right in line with what we're already trying to do. So I would say this isn't going to drive our work. This is going to be a support and a supplement to our work that can really give us some additional opportunities for help.
One thing you did mention, Kevin, is that thanks to Mike Fulton, who, of course, is now back in Missouri working, but he has been able to secure a significant amount of funding from the Kaufman Foundation out of the Kansas City area, who's wants to see innovation and have been, really excited about this work. And as long as we can show some results, we hope to get multiple years funding from the Kaufman Foundation, meaning that they would be funding a number of the resources that we potentially could use, travel and other kinds of things, the experts that we're bringing to the table. So the exciting thing is the state board is aware. DESI's going to have participants. We have a number of educational leaders. I will just say, Kevin won't say this about himself, but Mike Fulton would, if he were here, would say Kevin's a leader. And so is Tiffany, so is Carter Snow. They're recognized for their work. And he told me that that's the people he wanted he didn't want me. He wanted people who are working right in the work. And Tiffany's done some major work in curriculum work in the past. Certainly Carter, we know Carter's work, and certainly Kevin's leadership. So we're going to be well represented on Monday, starting in Jefferson City.
One last question. Are private schools included in this, or is this only public and
This is
charter?
for district and public charter schools.
Okay.
So there are some charter schools that are part of that work. But it really, because it's looking, private schools aren't subject to things like the MAP and accreditations, things like that. So some of that work wouldn't be relevant to them. So it really is focused on districts and public charters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Becker. So may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the board resolution on membership in the Success Ready Students Network System Design Zone as presented in the September 28th, 2022 board meeting materials.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin,
Yes.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer,
Yes.
Mr. Spector,
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
Yes, the motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have the annual Special School District Partnership Agreement discussion. And I'd like to welcome Amy Blumenfeld, Director of our Special Education.
All right, good evening. So President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, and Ms. Stover, thank you for giving me a couple minutes to highlight some of our updates to our partnership agreement. Every year, the partnership agreement does get updated. About, I think it was just a year ago, Dr. Matheson and I sat on a committee where there was a pretty large overhaul of our partnership agreement. And then moving forward, every couple years, we just update a few things. So I was given the, oh shoot, I already messed it up, Dr. Buckner. There we go. Maybe, maybe not. Dr. Beckner, which direction? every time he has to bail me out. Thank you.
You may pull your microphone down a little bit.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
There you go.
Perfect. So Dr. Marty did give me the mic, so I just want to take just a couple seconds to highlight a few successes before I jump into the partnership agreement. But these do directly tie into our agreement. We are sitting at the best staffing model that we have had in over 5 years. And that is directly due to the partnership in the districts. We have been struggling for years, as we have said, to fill all of our positions, and Parkway has rallied around us, and they have helped us to identify candidates, make recommendations, make sure that we get them before they go into the overall SSD pool so that we can hire for Parkway. So for the first time in 5 years, we're having quite a celebration here in Parkway that we are doing really well with our staffing. Doesn't mean we have all of our positions filled yet, so we're still asking for a little bit of assistance, but it's been really great to see what that does for our students. In addition, we had some great opening meetings. Dr. Beckner's group came together. He brought his entire department to meet with our special educators here in Parkway, and we had a wonderful opening meeting about how we can partner together more to make sure that we are aligning our curriculum, our instruction, and having rigorous instruction in our classrooms. In addition, Dr. Tyson brought the registrars, Will Rosa brought transportation, and we just had some great conversations around how do we partner between the special school district and Parkway School District. Just a really nice way to open our school year and to forge those relationships so we make sure that we are providing successful opportunities for all of our students. Carter Snow has invited us to join the PMI group, so we're going to have special education representation as a part of that committee. And we have identified other action teams within Parkway that were missing special education representation, and we have identified members to join them. So I am apologizing, I've just spent 3 days at a conference talking all day long, so luckily for my team, I did lose my voice, so I do have water up here. I think they're all gonna be cheering tomorrow that they don't have to hear me as much. But just wanted to highlight a couple of our successes as we started our school year. Moving into the partnership agreement, as I shared, this is a process that we go through every single year. Our partnership agreement, it highlights our staffing, teaching, learning, accountability, collaboration, responsibilities, resources, student services department, technology, transportation, and then our career and technical education, which is a wonderful opportunity through the special school district. So some of the updates that are highlighted this year have to do with our staffing model and some goals that have been added and how we will work together on those. Within teaching, learning, and accountability, reviewing some of the standards and indicators of how our students are progressing and how we're aligning. Again, up there, and I know you guys got to read over this ahead of time, just making sure we have equitable resources and how we are sharing across the districts, making sure that students have the resources they need within the classrooms, and then whose responsibility is that between the two districts to make sure that those are in place. So we look specifically at some of the indicators that have been updated. One of the updated indicators is that the Director of Special Education, myself, and the Special Education Coordinator team, we will now be meeting with Parkway Administrative Team, the SAT team, to go over our evaluations. So I had an opportunity to do that last spring with Dr. Matheson. He got to sit through my evaluation. And so just making sure that we're aligning on, are we working towards the common goal? Are we making sure that the pieces that Special School District holds dear that we feel are important also align with our partner districts? And are we on the right track? So it unearthed some really good conversations. It is not an evaluative process to have those conversations, but it just makes sure that we're transparent in those conversations. What are we working towards? And then it gave an opportunity for Dr. Matheson to give some feedback of, you know what, yeah, I saw evidence of this. We really did make some progress here. Here's some other areas that we're really working towards. And that drove our conversation to highlight some of our goals moving forward into this year. The next one, special education and director, just participation in our parent advisory groups. Parkway has a wonderful PACCD group, and just making sure that we are a part of those meetings. We're there to support them, we're there to help them find resources, connect them when needed. We are having our opening meeting on October 18th, so more information will be coming out soon, but we are planning for that opening meeting, and it's luckily timed really well, so it's before the bond issue, so we'll also be able to highlight some of the wonderful things that are a part of this bond issue that will impact individuals with special needs. But that's one of the updates. Oops, I went too far. Oh, nope. Assessment tool. So again, shared this already, but Dr. Matheson and I had a chance last spring to go over the partnership agreement. There was an assessment tool at the very end of it. We had a chance to rank ourselves, and I know I shared those rankings with you guys. And so, in full transparency, we were a little hard on ourselves. We definitely, we went through every single one as we ranked, and we thought, do we have examples of this is embedded every single time that we're doing it with fidelity? Or were there times where maybe we didn't quite meet the mark? So our rankings were a little tough on ourselves. When you look at the average, though, across the district, all the districts did the same thing. They ranked themselves pretty low last year. And the conversation that was highlighted at the special school district was, we were still coming out of a pandemic. We still had pieces that were really struggling across the districts of just getting in the same room at the same time, making sure that we were covering classes. So while we had examples of wonderful things we were doing, we didn't necessarily give ourselves the full points when we ranked ourselves because we did still see that there was room for growth. And so we do foresee that there will be some substantial improvement across all of the districts moving forward, but that did impact the rankings across all 22 partner districts at the end of last year. So, Ms. Hopper kind of shared this already when she highlighted attending the governing council, but every year we do ask that the districts come together and they do sign off on this and commit to these partnership agreements. We are looking for all 22 partner districts to sign off and commit to this, as well as a special school district as a representative of the 5 special school district school buildings and their partnership with us. So we are looking for signatures from superintendents from each of the partner districts, the special school district, the board president from each partner district, as well as our board president within SSD. Kind of share that Dr. Matheson and I had some conversations that stemmed from my evaluation and from going through the partnership agreement. Here are the pieces that we highlighted that we thought should be our focus for this year. We really wanted to make sure that we continued to do some collaborative meetings. We started increasing those last year, and we found they were pretty beneficial. So we have made sure that those are part of our monthly schedule this year as well. TLA has already joined us, and some great conversations came from that, and so now we're planning on moving forward. Increased focus on our tiered supports. And so this is where, actually from that meeting that we had, it was just about a week and a half ago with TLA, I've already heard from some TLA department members saying, can we start earlier with some of these pieces? Can we get together and start looking through those tiered supports so we can plan for any curriculum adoptions, any changes in courses that we might need to present to you guys, or planning of how our classes will look for next year. So we're gonna join forces and we're gonna look through those tiered supports. And then you guys heard from Melissa Gratz and myself last spring. We are in the midst of our comprehensive evaluation of the special services group. And so we are hopeful to use that information to drive some of our future goals. So as we come back together, I believe we will be presenting to you guys in April. We hope to have some good recommendations that will also shape this work with our partnership agreement. So just some dates. Dr. Matheson and I met the date of before June 30th last year. We had to do the rankings, and we've done that. I am here presenting to you before September 30th, so we will meet that date. And then we are hopeful to have 100% of signatures by October 31st. So we are asking the board tonight to consider signing off on this agreement and submitting that by the end of next month. So that's what I've got for you guys. What questions might you have for me?
Well, I'll just say thank you very much for this. I'm excited about some of the changes that are being made to the partnership agreement, especially the collaboration between the special school district and our general education educators. So I see that as a huge plus. One of the things that came out of our governing council meeting last week talked about the idea that there needs to be more communication within the buildings to principals and educators on who actually has IEPs within their building.
Okay.
Because, and I don't know how prevalent this is in Parkway, but there are some districts that when building personnel don't know what students in their building have IEPs and what problems there may be. So looking to see some improvement with that. And with that, there became discussion also about the education of our general educators with regard to special education for our students. And as we're seeing, Parkway in particular has a high volume of students that receive special school district services. My understanding is that we don't have required courses or professional learning development for our general educators. And so I'm wondering, is that still true? Or is there some kind of baseline minimum of special education professional development that our general educators get and receive so that they can be better prepared for helping to manage our special ed services in their classrooms?
So I'm glad you asked that. I knew I forgot something. So that actually took place this year. So we had the highest number of turnout of special educators and general educators coming together for our, Parkway calls it NEO, the new educator orientation. And so we paired up with Amy Gherkin Coates last year, and we developed a strand that Basically, we provided some training that was a course that they could go to during NEO, where they learned about IEPs, about IEP participation, what we're looking for out of them in that participation, what we're looking for in co-teaching partnerships, how can they access supports, who do they go to, what does special education mean? So that was infused as a part of NEO this year. We also have been working with Amy on what type of strands that could be offered. I don't know the exact verbiage because Parkway and SSDs kind of our TLA departments use different verbiages for the strands, but we were working with Amy to have courses that we offer through Special School District that would be great as just basic trainings that educators could, they could access. And so she was working to get that open to the general education staff. In addition, we also have our effective practice specialists that we partner up with our building principals, and we find out, what do you need in your buildings? Because we can come in and we can provide professional development trainings, and we can do that either through plan time opportunities where we're in a room all day long and the staff can come to us, or it can be a part of a staff meeting where they infuse. And so both of those are models that some Parkway principals have chosen to use. Already this year, they have done that. So we've definitely increased our training, and it was pretty cool to see that many new educators together. And on the flip side, we, for the first time ever, got approval to have our special educators within Parkway pair up to get the Parkway strand of training. So while we did send them to our special school district orientation in July before Parkways, they now will spend the rest of the year in the Parkway strand infusing special ed and general education knowledge to make sure that we are collaborating more. So it opens the door to both educator groups to get this information.
Thank you.
Yep.
Amy, I just thought of something that
Yeah.
just happened quick, that something that there's also a celebration. I think this last summer, I think it was in June, Dr. Keenan organized an SSD, a principal academy. I know a number of our principals spent a full day at North Tech.
Yes, they did.
And I think it was really a wonderful opportunity. I think it was the first time that the partner district principals came together for a training full day.
Yep, so we had a great turnout from Parkway, and we are the only district that was able to sneak in a coach from Kevin's department, and so we were able to do that as well. So we've definitely been trying to get that info out, and they're already planning next year's institute, so that will be a repeat opportunity. So, any other questions?
I just want to say, Amy's in her second year, and she's got 1 year behind her, and I think she's provided a wonderful leadership. And I also just want to say, she's not in the room, but Dr. Keenan continues to, I think Mrs. Hopper would agree, continues to provide really wonderful leadership. We every 2 months have the superintendents meet with her and her work, and she brings not only herself, but a lot of the SSD staff, like our SAT group, and they're working in many areas, many summer hours, equity, certainly working on efforts to certainly look differently at grading. Kevin talked about competency, so again, I'm really proud of our relationship, and I think Dr. Keenan too is really providing some wonderful leadership with us, for the partner districts.
Yep. Well, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the Special School District Partnership Agreement as presented in the September 28, 2022 board meeting materials?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin,
Yes.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer,
Yes.
Mr. Spector,
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Next up, we will be revisited by Patty Bedborough, who shared so much great information with us at our tax rate hearing at 6:30. We want her back.
Well, thank you very much for having me back. So just as a brief recap, these would be the rates that we are proposing by property class level, so residential, agricultural, commercial, and personal property. So total blended rate of 3.9981. However, when we make our motion, we actually make the motion assigning the tax rate based on our fund that it's placed in. So we are recommending that 1.265 goes into the general fund, 1.2406, or 2.2406 goes into the special or teachers fund, capital projects 0.61, and then debt service of 49 cents. So once again, the total blended rate of 3.9981. Any questions? Awesome.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So with all that said, and what we learned at the 6:30 tax rate hearing, may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education adopt the tax rates by category as presented above, and the blended tax rate for the Parkway School District for the 2022-2023 school year in the amount of up to a blended rate of $3.9981 to be distributed with a special revenue fund of 2.2406, general fund rate of $1.2065, capital projects rate of 0.0610, and debt service fund rate of 0.4900.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nikki.
Mrs. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Mapp Franklin,
Yes.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Seltzer,
Yes.
Mr. Spector,
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. We have no policy review tonight, but we do have a report. That is the Physical Education Targeted Program Review. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Kevin Beckner back to the podium, and joining him will be Eddie Madison, our coordinator of K-12 Physical Education and Health.
Well, thank you again. We last month brought you 2 program evaluations in our PLC and talent development evaluation and our science evaluation. This rounds out our 3 TLA program evaluations from this year. As a reminder, we do program evaluations every 6 to 7 years, depending on the needs of the department. And we choose between a comprehensive, a targeted, or just a progress memo for the type of evaluation we will do in response. Dr. Madison has selected a targeted evaluation, so he will tell you all about what they're going to do in physical education.
Thank you, Dr. Beckner. President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover, thank you for having me this evening. And as Dr. Beckner said, my name is Eddie Madison, Health and PE Coordinator, K through 12. I have the privilege and the honor to serve the Parkway School District in this role. Tonight I'll be presenting on the K through 12 Physical Education Targeted Program Evaluation. Over the next year, myself with the consulting of Dr. Beckner as needed, I will be working with a team of physical educators on the program evaluation to identify our needs as a program. And with that, I just want to kind of explain just a little bit about the current structure of what the K through 12 PE program currently looks like. Thinking with live and lead a healthy lifestyle. The ultimate goal is our ultimate goal when our Parkway students leave our high school as a 12th grader or as a senior. We want them to be able to live and lead a healthy lifestyle. You think about the word health. It's one of the most important words you have. You get one opportunity at that. So in my case, the most important content we have here in the Parkway School District. Thinking K through 12, thinking about our K through 5 group first. We start with those locomotor movements, manipulative skills, introducing fitness and exercise to our students. Leading into 6th and 8th grade, where we kind of move into more like skill-related fitness, sports skills, and strategies around how to play and participate in games. And then we also introduce a little bit of the adventure and cooperative skills in 6 through 8, and that leads to what I consider one of the best course offerings in the state of Missouri in our PE program. Starting with our physical fitness concepts course in our freshman year, all of our freshmen take this prerequisite course. That kind of gives a little bit of, you kind of get to dabble in a little bit of each of the course offerings that we have throughout the rest of the course list. And those courses offered are yoga. Students can get scuba certified in a scuba class, our aquatic adventure class. Adventure Pursuit, students are riding mountain bikes, climbing towers at Parkway North, kayaking at Creve Coeur Park. We also have many other courses that we offer in our high school. Amy mentioned earlier the collaboration between TLA and SSD week and a half ago or so. Through that conversation, we already have a course called PE Mentor, but through that conversation, that course is offered at the high school. Through that conversation, we are going to work together to try to get a PE Mentor class in elementary. We have it in 2 of our middle schools currently. And so those collaborative efforts will hopefully help to get some of those courses down into our younger grade levels. Going too far. I did. So our timeline for our evaluation. August, we had our initial protocol to determine the main topics, which I'll cover. The main topics and the guiding questions that we came up with to kind of work through our program evaluation for this school year. September, subcommittee, met with the subcommittee for curriculum earlier this month. Tonight, here presenting to the board. October through March, we'll meet with the committee of teachers to complete the evaluation and determine our next steps. April, we'll be back to present the next steps, and then in the summer and fall, we'll begin to proceed with our development, which will be outlined in this targeted evaluation. And so in April, we're hoping to have a 3 to 5 year plan on how we plan to fill our gaps and what we find we need out of this program evaluation for K through 12 physical education. Main topics we came up with as we discussed the protocol: curriculum and instruction resources, best instructional practices, assessment, professional development, and community connections. And I'm going to touch on each one of those over the next few minutes. We'll start with curriculum, instruction, and resources. When we think about our curriculum, when we think about our resources, we came up with these questions. Is it accessible to all? Does it represent us all? And are our resources equitable and reflective of all of our learners? And as we move forward in our program evaluation, we hope to answer these questions and build up a strong curriculum and strong instruction, strong resources around these questions. Best instructional practices. What are the best practices for using a co-teaching model? Most of our teachers are in a co-teaching model. Elementary schools all have 2, except for 1 of our elementary schools, Sorrento. In most of our cases, our teachers co-teach. So what are the best practices for our co-teaching model? When you think about instructional practices, are all of our instructional practices, are we creating a safe environment for our students? Are we engaging in all of our students? And those would be the questions we identify underneath best instructional practices. Assessment. Is the assessment aligned with national and state standards, grade level outcomes? Does the assessment include evidence-based practices that measure student achievement? Is grading directly related to student learning and objectives? And one piece that's not up here is our presidential fitness. You may have heard it called FitnessGram. We call it Parkway Fit here in Parkway. Is that a practice that reflects student achievement? Is that something that we can dig into and identify another way to assess around that? I know the state collects the data for 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade. But is that something that's benefiting our students right now by assessing them in those 4 core areas: aerobic capacity, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility? Professional development. Thinking through professional development, and are we providing the professional development in the hours that we have throughout the school year, and then bringing teachers in the summer? Is the PD available to all different levels? Is the current PD provided meeting the needs of our teacher development? What opportunities are available for PD? Think about some of the state and national PD that comes from our MoShape and Shape America, and then what opportunities are we providing in-house, even outside of those PD dates? Those will all be questions that we try to answer and fill the gaps here in Park. And then community connection. So this one I think is super important. How do we promote our program to our community? What events, activities can we implement to increase connection with our community? And then how do the parents and our community view our program? Currently, the last couple years have kind of taken a break, but community connection, we've tried to reach out and do Parkway Park Tour, where we visited parks within the Parkway footprint and Forest Park to identify places where students can go and be active. And is that enough? Are there other opportunities out there? And so we want to make sure that we are hitting and reaching out to the community and ensuring them that we are reaching that goal to live and lead a healthy lifestyle as our seniors leave our buildings. And so with that, thank you for listening to the 5 topics and the guiding questions that myself and the Program Evaluation Committee will be working through starting in October. Any questions?
Well, first I'll just say thank you. I comment and a question. Thanks for that great presentation. We're looking forward, it's been a number of years, looking forward to hearing what you uncover, what you learn through this process. I'm happy to hear that you are bringing back the park visits. I thought those were great activity a few years ago. So glad to hear those are coming back. I just had one question, and that is, have you thought about or discussed looking at this beyond the K-12 and incorporating our early childhood? You know, some of those kids, I know our early childhood program, we have some activities for our youngest learners, but is there any is it worth looking at how our curriculum could be offered to them from a physical fitness standpoint?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think one thing I actually spoke with, I think it was either Dr. Marty or Amy, about Elena and the work that Elena does with our pre-K students and the opportunity that they are allowed to play outside. Mm-hmm. And I think that's ultra important when you think about brain development and youth development. But leading up into the kindergarten year, like having that conversation about what do our students, where do our students need to be when they enter kindergarten to be successful in our program? And I think working with Elena to help build some of those skills in our younger pre-K or younger grade levels would be a great conversation.
Yeah, we do that from a curricular standpoint, so it would make sense to have some aspect of physical fitness.
Elena's not here, but I just want to say on her behalf, while we would certainly love to have her, we probably don't have time for all of the comments she would make about nature learning and outdoor play,
Right.
Because it is certainly a passion area of hers and something that they are intentionally building into some of the improvements at the Early Childhood Center. And I know she is incredibly excited about the potential of the bond issue passing with the second Early Childhood Center, and particularly on the site that's being proposed, is that there is just a great opportunity for a lot of outdoor learning and nature learning. And so she's certainly very excited about that. The current Early Childhood Center is actually pursuing, I'm forgetting the name of it, but essentially an outdoor nature learning certification to be recognized for the work that they're doing with getting students active and outdoors and learning in nature as well.
Recently, when I went to an open house, I was very impressed with the PE teacher explaining the things that they're doing at the high school level. What impressed me was how practical some of the PE things are. And I think a big concern in the United States right now is childhood obesity, and trying to get children into physical activity that they see as fun and practical for themselves. And so I'm hoping that perhaps in your evaluation process, you're looking at things like that, and the opportunities that we see within PE classes for students to become engaged or to be introduced to things that perhaps they may not be able to be introduced to any other way than through PE class.
That's right. I love our courses. Adventure Pursuits, we have students kayaking, like I said before. We also have a couple low-impact classes. Yoga is a great class. We have Yoga 1, Yoga 2. We have a Walk for Fitness class for students who may not be interested in the individual sports or the competitive sports class. Opportunities for all to find a love for fitness. Mm-hmm. And so our ultimate goal, live and lead a healthy lifestyle. I think that's...
And the other question one question that I do have is there a virtual component to this as to how virtual learning is taking place for PE?
That's actually
we have that component.
Great question and a great point. That's one point of contention that that's one point we were not looking at. And I think that's something in the October meeting I'll definitely bring up. We have a tremendous group of teachers that are teaching our virtual groups right now. Bridget, K through 5, Bridget Wildschutz is doing our K through 5 virtual courses. She works in a space probably about the size of this little rectangle right here and knocks it out of the park. It's amazing some of the things that she does and some of the equipment, the limited equipment that we were able to get the students to be able to work with and all of the great things that Bridget is doing. But that's something we'll definitely look into. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Eddie, I'm going back to your introduction. Could you maybe just, I think I understand it, but I want to make sure. We heard you talk about the mentoring program. Could you explain that a little bit more? Because you said
PE
it's being
Mentor?
expanded. Yeah, explain that.
All right, great. So PE Mentor is an amazing opportunity. So we have students who may have a disability, maybe confined to a wheelchair, and they are in a class called PE Mentor where they may not, the typical curriculum, typical PE curriculum, we have students who are in the PE Mentor class, but then we have students who come in and kind of mentor the students who may have a disability or confined to a wheelchair, like I said. It's a great bond that these two students connect because it's not only the student who has the disability who is the mentee, but it's an opportunity for the mentor to kind of get to know all of the students, to kind of get to know what types of activities that students that may not be able to function in a normal class would be able to do. So they're learning about those disabilities, learning how they can adapt everything that we do in our PE classes, and they're doing it while creating a friendship and a bond that we have some amazing video of archery and things like that are happening in that PE Mentor class. And when I mentioned before about it expanding, we do it at our high school now. We do it at a couple of the middle schools right now, but we're also looking to kind of expand that down to our elementary level because we think that's a great opportunity.
I've seen it in action, and sometimes it also plays out during the Special Olympics activities. But I think it's so valuable for not only the students who have the needs, but our students learn so much about their peers and their needs, and they take great care and love for them.
It's amazing.
Kind of going back to what you're talking about with getting the community involved. I actually graduated with a physical education license. Something we were able to do as students in college. I took an adapted physical education class where during the nighttime, students from the local elementary, middle, and high were able to be taught and given some more physical education specifically just for them, adapted to them. Something maybe to look at, partnering with local colleges potentially and students who are wanting to be physical education teachers to get some of these students maybe some extra physical education that they might not get in the classroom.
Thank you.
I think you just talked to yourself. Dr. Bogus will be calling you tomorrow to get on the sub list.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Eddie.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we have no work session and we have no special meeting. So may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for attending.